Welcome back to Spyro, and we're hitting up Dry Canyon.
Oh,
You
you
know,
gotta chase that
very
bat.
dry.
Wait, no, sorry.
Yeah.
one of the
Someone got the reference.
one of the definitely best, upgrades that this game has gotten are like the beautiful goddamn skies. And I know that's like one of the
for
least
sure.
Yep.
impressive graphical elements that a game can pull off nowadays, but gosh,
by
that
skies,
pretty.
you mean in the Artisan Craft World, Andy's room from Toy Story?
Wait, what?
I too saw that video. That's that, and I can't think of anything else now when I ever see the sky. It's just like the clouds are typically they're just one color of white. These clouds look nice.
Yeah,
I
it's
like
also-
the color that they were able to keep the pastel-y color palette for the most part in the remakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything contrasts nicely, which is good.
So what do you guys? So we've talked about the aesthetics and stuff. What do you guys think of the soundtrack? And like how it's dynamic if you have.
Was
if
it
you
really
want to.
changed much at all?
It has a much.
gotta
It's a
compare it.
much. It's not as changed as much as the Crash games, I feel.
Yeah.
It's not as changed. It's more. I want to say a little more atmospheric. It sounds less tinny than
Yeah,
the
a
original
little less
games do.
PlayStation.
You can argue less.
Less PlayStation 1
Yeah, you can
audio
argue less
card.
punch.
Yeah.
They kept both
It has, like,
versions
less
of
punch
it,
to it.
which I appreciate, and you can change it whenever the hell you
You
want.
can't use the
to.
original.
So,
Yeah.
But you have the option to have it be
Hold on.
dynamic as well. So whether you're standing still or running,
Hold-
it'll up the
Okay,
tempo.
hold the fuck on. They had a dragon named Conan,
Whoa.
and they didn't make him a big-ass muscle-bound barbarian.
Don't you remember?
Oh,
We ended a part in
And-
the original, and I was like, do they ever reference pop culture? And then I'm like, Conan, and then he says, "Thank you for releasing me," with the "Thank you for releasing me" voice, and I was
Oh,
like,
okay, so it's talk show Conan.
I was hoping for Simpsons Music Man Conan. Monorail.
What's that word?
Monorail.
That reminds me, I actually need to give Conan Exiles a shot when I have 60 goddamn hours for an open-world game to spare. This guy should have been
So
Conan.
you said Conan Exiles after someone else just said Conan the talk show host, and I'm just thinking of like,
what? Jimmy Fallon
that'd be a
said
show
that he
I'd
wasn't
watch.
allowed to be on TV anymore, so he has
He
to.
wants to talk show.
He has to team up with all the other talk show hosts in order to take
yeah,
him down.
bro,
Okay.
Yeah, Jay
Yeah, him,
Leno,
Colbert.
Jimmy Kimmel.
Leno,
Conan Exiles.
Late night Dynasty Wars.
Conan Exiles is them trying to do the open worlds.
Oh my God, that'd be
The
amazing.
unlockable
is
character
the-
should
is
be
the-
Stephen Colbert, otherwise I'm not buying the game.
No, it's
Nah, Jon Stewart comes back.
no oh crap. Who is the like kind of the original guy who was like from the 60s and 70s and stuff?
Oh, I mean David
Are,
Letterman.
are you gonna?
I mean David Letterman.
Are you gonna not rescue the
Johnny
dragon?
Johnny Carson.
Yeah. No,
Are you talking Johnny Carson?
Johnny Carson. That's
Yeah,
it.
Johnny Carson.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this one's Maximus, isn't he? Can I just leave him in
Look
there?
at that, look at that big old chin. Look at that big chin.
Those birds might look tough.
Twice the size of his head.
You
having
look
chin.
like you could
That
use a
scar
burger.
under his chin kind of makes me. Ugh. Like someone was going for his neck and they missed.
Which is very hard to do for him.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe he's much more fit in his youth, and then that scar like put him down for a few years, and he gained a lot of
I
weight.
took an arrow to the neck.
Okay.
Well, considering that this is Skyrim, you probably could survive that.
That's a mod that I haven't seen yet. Putting Spyro in
It
Skyrim.
probably has
I'm
already
sure someone-
happened, I'm sure.
Was
Yeah.
this game released for PC, or was it just PS4? Or no?
Not yet, but people make their own models.
Yeah.
Well, people can also take models from console games. It's just harder.
It probably would be not as hard because it's got an Xbox One version, I would say. And I think that's a little bit easier to get into because it's Microsoft than
true.
PlayStation 4 game.
Yeah, the real difficulty I think with modding console games specifically is actually the consoles themselves. Like you can't really get a modded version of those games to work on a console without like really old firmware or something.
It's like flash modding or something. Yeah.
Yeah,
and
you have
if
to.
don't have that firmware, well, you're shit out of luck.
The only console where I know where it's even kind of easy to do it is the Wii, because the homebrew channel and there
Well,
was.
the PSP.
Oh yeah.
The PSP,
Yeah,
Even though
too.
even though those are software mods. to like hack consoles, you sometimes have to do a full on fucking hardware.
That's the thing you have to do
that's
for
how
the
you do
Switch,
3DS.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all in the name of mitigating piracy, I guess.
Well, I mean, to be fair, that's the only
I don't
reason
do it
why
because
anybody
it
keeps
just,
their
you
PSP
know-
around anymore is for piracy. So.
Well, no, now you got your
Oh yeah,
Vita,
because they bricked
too,
the Vita a
'cause
couple of days ago.
They
Yeah.
they just broke into the
Oh,
Vita
what,
a couple
again?
of days ago at the time of
Okay.
recording.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
No, I mean like big time. Now it's like
It's completely open,
people are-
Oh
apparently.
yeah, well,
probably.
Sony's also discontinued it, so they're probably not.
The second Sony discontinued it, yeah.
Sony had a second portable.
You know what? You know what I think? I think someone was sitting on that exploit, waiting for Sony to discontinue it, so that they could unveil
Someone
it.
was sitting at Sony.
So that they could unveil it, like the moment they knew Sony wasn't
Okay.
going to patch it
It's
out.
gone.
One guy runs 2 Twitter accounts, the official Sony one and the guy who released the exploit. You just tweeted them at the same time.
before it could be reborn, it must die.
Vita means life after all.
Well, you know, if we can't enjoy the Vita as a legitimate console because publishers aren't doing enough with it, we can at least take that sexy piece of
Let's make
hardware.
our own Vita
and-
with piracy and PlayStation games.
The thing is, though, I'm glad what that means for what you can do with the console. It still disappoints me. That
Yeah, it does.
Like it was basically just PSP 2.
It
Like,
was
it-
the
Oh, not even,
so
yeah.
the Extra Credits years ago did a video about it, and the problem was that it was the hardware was too good, effectively, because it cost too much money to make games for it. When those are the kind of the games that go on mid and handheld are more normally like mid kind of size teams and mid size.
Yeah, the
mid-budget.
unfortunate
Yeah.
thing is that the portable market in the West, specifically, I should say, is not as robust as the portable market in Japan. So you don't necessarily get as much consumer interest there. Also, Japan tends to gravitate toward those, you know, anime-looking games that actually end up disguising how low budget the game is. So,
Yeah, and there were plenty of those on the Vita.
So-
Not to mention, it came out in like 2011, which is right when smartphones were a common thing, and so smartphone gaming like took off ridiculously huge.
While Sony was like trying to make these massive console experiences.
Because of capacity, I think software also had everything to do with that. Because remember, the 3DS flourished around this.
Well, the 3DS also took like a year and a half to flourish because until Mario Kart came out, nobody owned one.
Still,
Yeah.
it flourished though, and the Vita didn't.
yeah.
I think
Well, because
that,
they
I
gave
think
up
that
on the Vita super quick.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
to be
they-
fair, sometimes it's better to ditch a sinking ship, stares at Wii U, you know. The dust collector on my shelf.
Yeah, see, like Sony was porting Vita games over while the Vita was still alive. At least Nintendo waited for the Wii U to die. They gave that console the courtesy of waiting for the body to be like dead and buried before they started porting games. Sony was like, Gravity Rush was kind of cool last year. You want it on PlayStation 4?
Sure.
I think
Please
I
buy
think
it.
there was more than a year in between the
You know, yeah,
Yeah,
but
it's just, you
that's
know.
saying they still they didn't wait for the Vita to die before they started.
As far as I
killing the
know,
games.
the reason that the Gravity Rush port happened was because they were doing Gravity Rush 2 on the PlayStation 4 and knew like half
Sure.
the people who might be buying it wouldn't have played the first one.
I mean, Tearaway was the same thing.
Yeah. So they just wanted that remaster available so people could get caught up with the series, you know, generate some interest. Because
But if Gravity Rush did do well on the Vita, you're sure as shit the sequel would have been released.
yeah,
Exactly.
it's like Gravity Rush was mostly known as that one game everyone mentions when they're trying to convince you to buy a Vita next to
And
Persona
then it came
4.
out on and then it came out on PS4. So what's the point?
Yeah, well, it was out for a while on Vita. I know that. I had the game for free on Vita thanks to PlayStation Plus for a good while. But suddenly Sombrero. Okay.
Yep, different level.
What?
Actually, I guess you could play this game on the Vita because there's the remote play.
Yeah.
You just need a PS4.
Well, it would work for your
That's actually kinda
semi-portable Spyro needs until the Switch version comes out, which I am really interested in because if the game doesn't lose too much graphical fidelity in the transition to the Switch, and by too much graphical fidelity, I more mean the way it runs. Because texture, I think especially in a game like this, while the texture quality is really nice, the way that the geometry looks, you won't lose too much by dropping a couple of
No, I
polygons.
feel the transition Yeah, the transition from this to the Switch, I think, won't be as, I don't want to say severe because I still think it looks good, but the Insane Trilogy, when it was brought to the Switch, there were clear differences.
It ran.
on both
It
character
didn't run
models
as
and
well, was a big
environments.
thing, right?
It runs fine. It just
it
looks
just clearly looks worse.
It's like the visuals were clearly downgraded.
like Crash doesn't have fur.
What?
He's just a flat
like,
model.
He looks like he looks like a
flat texture.
What?
flat textures.
But that was like,
Yeah.
you might as well just be playing the original game then. Okay.
Well, I mean, it's a step up from like his Wrath of Cortex days, which is not hard to do.
Yeah, but
But,
was Crash 3. Crash 3 was also a step up from his Wrath of Cortex days. I don't know. I don't know how they managed to make him look so bad on the PS2, but they did.
Still, given the inherently more cartoonish design, which I know is saying something because it's Crash Bandicoot we're comparing it to, I think the transition to the Switch would be easier and less noticeable.
Well, hopefully.
It'll probably just have worse load times, is my thought.
Yeah.
Well, not necessarily, considering that it's going to be on a cartridge, so it doesn't have to read.
But the levels
No.
are big. Like
Yeah.
they were big levels. So I think when you get to Spyro 2 and 3, it'll be more apparent how, I guess, I don't want to say underpowered, but I guess underpowered the Switch is.
Yeah,
Comparatively speaking.
Comparatively,
you
yeah.
know, actually, that reminds me of one thing about this game that's really annoying when you're downloading it and playing it, because I got this game digitally, and you can download part of the game and start playing it, and it's like, cool. It looked like I had downloaded like a third of the game's files, so it's like, okay, cool. I can now play all of Spyro 1. Nope, I can only play the first level
One
of
level.
Spyro 1. And that's
That was
it.
so weird. So when I got my download, it was that same thing. I got through level 1, I went to the balloonist, and it was like, you gotta download the rest of the game if you want to. Oh, I thought I did. Okay, and it's like a 20 gig download or something like that.
You see,
Yeah, the game is really big to download.
like, the thing about it is that I don't really know why, if they're doing it that way, why they didn't sell all three, have an option to buy all three games separately. Because like, as far as I can tell, you can only buy the games as the full pack, and if you're going to have them be downloaded separately anyway, why not have somebody who only wants Spyro 2 to just get Spyro 2, Like, I think that.
Well, because the game's kind of cheap to begin with.
What do you mean by that?
Meaning, if you would do that, you're kind of basically not getting your money's worth in some regard.
Well, I mean, you're saving money if you only want one part of it. Like, that's what Shovel Knight does, is that, yes, it is a much better deal to buy the combo with all of the different games, but if you only want Spectre of
Those
Burn-
those all came out much later, though, is the thing.
Yeah, but still, I think that it's like, again, not that a lot of people would use it, but I think it would be decent to have an option.
They could have dropped them for like $20 each, and then you get them for 40 if you get all three.
Yeah.
Like they did that on the HD collections on PS3. Like you can get all 3 Ratchet games individually.
Some
or you can get
HD
a combo
collections
pack.
did that. Other HD collections like Devil May Cry didn't. Like, you have to download the entire Devil May Cry HD collection if you get that one. You have to download all 3 games. All 3 games.
Even if you don't want Devil May Cry 2 and would never,
Yeah,
never touch it.
I'm not bitter. I'm not bitter. But yeah, I like the way that Prince of Persia did it. And I can't speak to Ratchet because of the HD collection, I bought that as a disc. So, but
They could have done it, but it's Activision, and they do weird things.
well, I think in
gotta
the Insane Trilogy's case and Spyro's case, aren't they at least sharing some engine aspects and all of that?
Yeah.
Probably.
So it's I hesitate to say definitively because I'm no expert, but my impression of the Crash Insane trilogy, at the very least, was that these 3 games were actually playing off the same program, just with different levels and cutscenes.
Yeah, they definitely all 3 games definitely are using the same engine and controls. Like, they all play identically to each other and look pretty much the same. It's not like there's frame rate or graphical fidelity differences between the games that can't just be attributed to art,
Yeah, they intentionally designed Crash 1 to look the worst out of the 3.
There are weird quirks with Spyro 3 in this, because it was actually done by a different
I knew that
studio.
was going to happen.
That was, yep.
I saw it coming a mile away.
Wait, you knew that Crash 3 was going to be Spyro 3 rather was going to be done by a different studio, or
No.
No, me
there are weird quirks. We're talking about weird quirks between games. Spyro 3 has weird quirks in the Reignited because it was done by a different studio. But that's the only.
Like within this collection, the third game in the Reignited was done by a different team.
Not entirely, but a lot of it, yeah. Because there's like alternate different characters and a lot more mini games in 3. So they got help from I think Sanzaru.
Yeah.
Oh. They got to work on something
Yeah, that's
decent.
weird.
Sonic
Like, all the new
Boom
characters.
Sonic Boom 3DS guys.
I know who they are. I just find like when the game already has the groundwork laid out for you, why the need for
Maybe they didn't
Because
want.
there's too much different stuff going on. in Spyro 3
Maybe
to
they
need
didn't
someone
want
to-
issues like Crash 3 had, where the vehicles people complain about them not controlling right. You know.
Yeah.
Well,
There are a
people-
ton of gimmicks in Spyro
people
3,
still
so I guess
complain
like
about
to
the
keep up.
different characters in Spyro 3 not controlling right, but that's a Spyro 3 commentary.
Problem.
Everyone was worried that Spyro trilogy would take too long to finish, so I guess to mediate that, they got another studio on board to do like the alternate characters and stuff like that.
In that case, it makes
It's
sense.
not like they.
Why is that dragon? That dragon's wearing a belt, by the way, and no
That
pants.
guy doesn't have wings. He's got prosthetic wings.
There's a lot of things going on with him.
Okay. Prosthetic wings. I never thought I'd
He lost them. He lost them in the war.
Into where?
This war or the other war?
The war.
Cool. All right. Sounds good to me.
War is never good.
It never changes.
Yeah.
Except for,
Yo-
different weapons and different people and.
You'll see, and now that we've had World War I, why do you keep calling it that?
Man, World War II was such a cash-in sequel, where World War I, it was all about, like, moral ambiguity and no side is right, and
And hiding in trenches for months on end.
Yeah, and in World War II, they just dropped all ambiguity about the bad guys. Like, they're just cartoonishly evil, and it's just they had to bring the ending was such a cheat too, like bringing in that America, that stupid country, and just retconning it to be this badass that can wipe up the second half of the war by itself. Like, please, what sloppy writing? I mean, come on.
I mean, historians recount why World War II happened. There was just a couple people in a boardroom, and they were like, "Listen, if World War I was so good,
Why is there no
we need to make a sequel. We got to make a sequel." Yeah.
I'm so sorry to the memory of all the people who have actually died. In
We
World
are
Wars.
going to die one day in a horrible nuclear holocaust, and the only living archives is going to be this fucking part of this commentary, and that's it. History is rewritten.
That's how I figured I would go.